After chasing Victoria Vance for nearly 4 years, she finally agreed to be with me. I was just a bar singer with no real prospects, and I knew I wasn't good enough for her, so I worked even harder to make money. When she mentioned she was short on cash, I sang for several nights in a row. I pushed myself until my vocal cords were damaged, so severely that I couldn't even speak. To keep her from worrying, I just told her I had a sore throat. Later, I found out the shortage of cash was to pay for her first love's medical bills, and that they were even planning a wedding. I stumbled to the wedding venue in a daze. Victoria Vance frowned and said, without a change in her expression, "The MC just canceled last minute." "You can do it." The moment the microphone was handed to me, I froze, my body rigid as if I'd been plunged into an icy cavern. If it weren't for the last shred of sanity I had, that microphone would have been shattered to pieces on the floor. It felt as if someone had stabbed me in the heart, or maybe I had a terminal illness. How else could it hurt so much? Just then, the other protagonist of the day, Ethan Thorne, gave a weak cough and said, "Victoria, let it go. This is already so embarrassing for me. I don't want to cause any more trouble between you two." Victoria patted his back, her voice gentle with concern. "It's fine. Sincere Clark won't say anything. He has a great voice. He's the perfect last-minute replacement." I stared at them blankly, a heavy weight pressing on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Victoria walked over to me and whispered, "Is your throat feeling any better? I'll explain everything after today. Don't overthink it. Just focus on hosting for now." Hearing this, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She was finally asking about my throat, even trying to explain things to me in a soft voice, but I couldn't manage a smile. All I felt was a sharp, piercing pain in my heart. The microphone in my hand felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I couldn't lift it. The eyes of the crowd slowly turned to focus on my face. Victoria's expression grew darker. She said coldly, "Sincere Clark, are you mute? Don't make a scene now. If you ruin this wedding today, I will never forgive you." I was, in fact, mute. Anyone with severely damaged vocal cords would be unable to speak. A few days ago, because she said she urgently needed money, I transferred everything I had to her account and sang song after song at the bar. Even the owner told me to take a break. I sang until my vocal cords gave out, leaving me temporarily unable to speak. I hated my own powerlessness, my inability to solve all her problems when she needed me. I was just a bar singer, a profession many people looked down on as not being a real job. Getting together with Victoria hadn't been easy. It took me 4 years. I didn't want to lose her, so all I could do was work harder. But it wasn't until today that I learned the real reason she needed the money was for her first love, Ethan Thorne. And she wasn't actually short on cash. It was just an offhand comment from her, but I had treated it like gospel truth. The laughable part was that I had no idea when they had gotten back in touch, let alone that they were holding a wedding with all their friends and family invited. Perhaps I should be grateful that Victoria had never made our relationship public or mentioned me to others. At least it saved me from complete humiliation now. But the crowd's impatience far outweighed any curiosity about my silence. It was a wedding, so they held their tongues, but their glares were filled with anger. I clutched the microphone, completely at a loss. My mind was screaming at me to leave, but my legs felt like they were filled with lead, refusing to move an inch. The atmosphere was tense. Victoria had already shot me several warning looks, but how could I explain to her that I couldn't speak? Ethan Thorne smiled faintly, feigning understanding. "Victoria, forget it. We don't need an MC. Just let him go." Victoria looked at him with concern. Seeing that he seemed okay, she relaxed, then turned to me with disgust. "Sincere Clark, get out. We don't need you here." I don't know how I left the wedding. When I got home and looked in the mirror, my face was streaked with tears. I couldn't have looked more pathetic, more ridiculous. My phone buzzed several times. It was a series of photos from Ethan, pictures of him and Victoria together. Victoria's social media feed also had a post from their wedding, a picture of their intertwined hands looking incredibly sweet. It didn't look like the fake wedding she claimed it was. The official relationship, status I had begged her for days to post. Ethan got it so easily. At that thought, I laughed. I laughed until my shoulders shook and my vision blurred. Victoria didn't come home until the next morning. She rubbed her temples, looking exhausted. I sat on the sofa, watching her with a blank expression, my heart a maelstrom of emotions. Sincere Clark, why did you leave yesterday? Wasn't she the one who told me to get out? What was this accusatory tone all about? When I didn't answer, Victoria's face soured. She snapped impatiently. I'm talking to you, are you mute? You were like this yesterday too. What the hell is your problem? Didn't I tell you? Ethan is sick and this was his dying wish. It's not a real marriage. Who are you putting on that long face for? I pressed my lips together, unable to answer. She didn't care about my condition at all. Otherwise, how could she not have noticed I couldn't speak? In her eyes, in her heart, there was only Ethan. I knew her temper all too well. If I didn't respond soon, she'd probably tear the roof down. Just as I pulled out my phone to type an explanation, her phone rang. In an instant, Victoria's expression softened, a stark contrast to the furious woman from a second ago. I couldn't help but wonder if there were two Victorias. How else could she change so drastically? Ethan, what's wrong? I'm home. I'll be there in a bit. Okay, I'm on my way. After hanging up, she shot me a cold, emotionless glance. Whatever. I can't be bothered to argue with you. Ethan isn't feeling well. I'm going to take care of him. Hearing that, I knew I had to explain. I quickly typed in my phone's notes app. My vocal cords are damaged. I can't speak. I held the phone up for her to see, thinking she might show a sliver of concern. But she just frowned, her voice dripping with contempt. Sincere Clark, is that the best you can do? What a disgusting excuse. A few days ago it was a sore throat, and now you can't speak at all? If you're going to make excuses, at least make them believable. I don't want to talk about yesterday anymore, so you can drop the act. Ha! You can't talk, right? But I remember you're a pretty good cook. Make something for Ethan and bring it to the hospital later. Yes, I was a good cook. But I had learned specifically for her. Because she ate erratically and always ordered takeout, I worried about her health, so I found a chef to teach me. I never thought that one day it would become the reason she'd order me to cook for another man. With that, she left without a backward glance. Her steps hurried as if Ethan would face a dire emergency if she were a second late. Watching her leave, I clutched my chest. The pain was so intense it felt like my heart was being torn apart. I couldn't help but ask myself, was this relationship even worth continuing? Did I really have to be this debased? An hour later, a text from Victoria arrived. It was short and to the point. Sincere Clark, Ethan's hungry. When are you bringing the food? If you keep acting out, we're breaking up. Before, the word breakup would have sent me into a panic. I would have immediately apologized and promised never to make her angry again. Back then, I was terrified of losing her. I truly loved her and didn't want to let her go, so I did everything I could to keep her. But now, I felt strangely calm. I did go to the hospital, though. Not to deliver food, but to get things straight. I found the room easily using the address Victoria had given me. As I was about to push the door open, I heard my name. Victoria, you asked Sincere to bring food. He wasn't angry, was he? I really didn't mean to ruin your relationship, Ethan said apologetically. Victoria was silent for a few seconds before she scoffed. Angry? He almost ruined our wedding yesterday. What right does he have to be angry? It's just bringing some food. It's not like I asked for his life. My hand on the doorknob tightened, my knuckles white, as if I wanted to rip the door from its hinges. My body trembled slightly. Victoria's words were like countless knives stabbing into my heart, the pain unbearable. After a moment, Ethan sighed. If it weren't for me, things wouldn't be like this between you two. Victoria's voice softened. If it weren't for you, I would never have been with him in the first place. You disappeared without a word back then. Do you know how long I looked for you? If his voice wasn't so similar to yours, why would I ever have gotten with him? So you need to get better soon. She came to the bar every night to hear me sing. Was that the reason? I thought she might have liked me, just a little. But the truth was, she was looking at another man through my voice. I couldn't help but let out a laugh at my own wishful thinking, at my own arrogance. It turned out I was the biggest joke of all. Who's at the door? I pushed the door open on instinct. Seeing me, Victoria's eyes flashed with panic, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. She frowned. When did you get here? Ethan reminded her. Victoria, be gentle. It's fine, Victoria said to Ethan, then turned to me annoyed. Sincere Clark, aren't you here to deliver food? Where is it? Don't tell me you came empty-handed. Even at a time like this, all she cared about was Ethan's food. I gave a self-deprecating smile and sent her a message on my phone. Let's break up. Since she had no feelings for me, why should I desperately cling to this relationship, just waiting for more humiliation? The moment I saw the annoyance in her eyes, my love for her vanished. Who could love someone who despises them? Victoria looked at her phone, her expression changing. "What do you mean by this?" she said in a low voice. I typed, "It means what it says. I heard everything you just said. You were eavesdropping on us," she seethed. Then her eyes widened in realization. "Why aren't you talking? Don't tell me you weren't lying. Your vocal cords are really damaged? You can't speak?" In her eyes, was I really the kind of person who would resort to such a cheap trick? I shook my head and turned to leave. Victoria shouted, "Don't you go make yourself clear, wasn't it clear enough?" Even so, what else was there to say? The fact that she didn't love me was painfully obvious. I didn't stop walking. Behind me, Victoria was furious, probably because she couldn't accept that I was the one ending things. After all, what right did I have? Fine, I agree to the breakup, but if you walk out of here today, don't even think about getting back together. I never wanted to see her again in my life. Why would I want to get back together? She could rest assured on that point. After leaving the hospital, I didn't go home. That place was filled with memories of my life with Victoria. I didn't want to go back just yet, so I went straight to my best friend Chris Young's place. Seeing me, he was surprised and said sarcastically, "What are you doing here? Not with your girlfriend? What wind blew you, the lovesick fool, to my humble abode?" I managed a smile. He'd been against my pursuit of Victoria from the start, telling me to give up countless times. But I was the type who had to learn the hard way. It seemed he was right all along. "What? Did you two fight?" Seeing my state, Chris turned serious. I sent him a message on my phone. "We broke up. Also, my vocal cords are damaged, so I can't talk for a while. Let's chat like this." Chris frowned as he read it. "Broke up? Did she dump you? And what's this about your vocal cords? What did you do to mess them up so badly?" I'd never told him about these things because I didn't want him to have a bad opinion of Victoria. Explaining it all now was a headache. I thought for a moment and typed out a brief summary of what had happened. "Sincere Clark, I think you're certifiably insane," Chris said coldly after reading it. I didn't argue. He was right. If I weren't insane, I wouldn't have wasted so much time on someone who didn't love me. Thankfully, I was cured now, and there would be no relapse. I ended up staying at Chris's place. My days were spent either playing video games or sleeping, a life of idle leisure. Victoria never contacted me, not that I expected her to. She was busy taking care of Ethan. We had broken up, so there was no reason to be in touch. Her luggage was still at my apartment, but I had already changed the password for the door. It proved she hadn't been back, and as for where she was staying, the answer was obvious. I didn't care. I figured I'd just hire a cleaner to pack it all up so I wouldn't have to see it when I went back. After some time off, my voice had recovered significantly. At least I could speak again, though not for long periods. It was enough for daily life. As I was playing a game, Chris asked, "It's been days. Are you ever planning on going back to your own apartment?" I snorted. "What, trying to kick me out?" "I'm being serious, Sincere. Are you really going to avoid your own home just because of a breakup?" Chris had dropped his usual laid-back attitude and was speaking earnestly. "You're overthinking it," I replied casually. "All right then, come with me somewhere tonight." The place he mentioned was the bar, my old workplace. I couldn't have been more familiar with it, yet after being away for so long it felt strangely foreign. Chris grinned. "Tonight, you're a customer. How about I find you a few pretty ladies?" "You're sick," I shot back, but I didn't refuse. If I said anything like no, he'd definitely assume I was still hung up on my ex. He could misunderstand anything else, but I didn't want him thinking that. I couldn't drink alcohol, so I ordered a glass of warm water. "Big P, you haven't been here in forever," said Lola, a colleague of mine. Before I could reply, my phone rang. Seeing it was Victoria, I immediately declined the call, but she called again. After a moment's thought, I got up and went outside to answer. "Sincere Clark, what is the meaning of this? Why did you change the password? Are you still mad? I've given you time to cool off, stop causing trouble." I was stunned for a moment, then replied without emotion, "It's my apartment. I can change the password whenever I want. Do I need to inform you? I'll have someone pack up your things. Give me an address and I'll have them sent to you." Victoria was silent for a moment, then said irritably, "I told you I'm busy. I don't have time to play these jealous games with you." "Sincere Clark, does a grown man acting like this make you feel good? What are you holding against Ethan, a sick man? How can you be so cold-blooded?" Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. The sick man she was talking about seemed to have plenty of energy to send me photos of them together. Since she had already judged and convicted me, there was no point in arguing. I said succinctly, "I'm not holding anything against him. Victoria, we broke up. Let's not contact each other again." With that, I hung up and silenced my phone. When I returned to our booth, 3 or 4 people crowded around me. "Big P, everything okay?" I shook my head and changed the subject, and the lively atmosphere quickly returned. As a bar singer, I was naturally in my element in this kind of environment. So when a furious Victoria stormed in, she found me leaning back on the sofa, completely relaxed. She exploded. "Sincere Clark, didn't you say your throat was sore? And now you're here drinking? I guess I shouldn't have believed you believed me." Had she ever truly believed me? I let out a low, mocking laugh. Lola, sitting beside me, smiled sweetly. "Miss Vance, what brings you here? Big P and I were just having a good time. Care to join us for a drink?" Victoria had always looked down on people who worked in bars, including Lola. Whenever they met, sparks were bound to fly. I used to be the one to play peacemaker, but now I had no intention of getting involved. "Sure enough," Victoria sneered. "Are you worthy?" Lola's smile didn't falter. "Then I wonder what brings Miss Vance here today." Victoria ignored her and turned to me, her teeth clenched. "Sincere Clark, you better explain yourself. What did you mean on the phone? How dare you hang up on me?" "I made it perfectly clear," I said calmly. "We broke up." At that, Lola giggled. "Big P, you finally came to your senses. That's great. How about you consider me instead?" I couldn't help but smile at that. I knew she was doing it on purpose to annoy Victoria. But she was mistaken. That tactic only works on someone who loves you. Victoria didn't care about me at all, so why would she be angry? To my surprise, however, Victoria's face darkened as she demanded, "Sincere Clark, are you serious about breaking up with me? To be with her?" "Can't I?" I retorted. She stared at me for a long moment, as if trying to gauge if I was serious. Finally, she said with disdain, "Sincere Clark, if you're trying to get my attention, you don't need to use methods like this. I'll give you a few more days to think it over. When you've figured it out, come and apologize to me." She turned and walked away without looking back, though her steps seemed a bit rushed. I frowned. She really was arrogant. Where did she get that confidence? Perhaps it came from my years of endless tolerance and my overwhelming love for her. Too bad all of that was gone now. Chris let out a cold laugh, then asked in a warning tone, "You're not going to be a fool again this time, are you?" "Of course not." The next day I hired a cleaning service to pack up all of Victoria's belongings. Since she wouldn't give me an address, I had everything sent to the hospital. Soon after, I received a call from her. She must have gotten the boxes. I guessed she was calling to accuse me of something, probably thinking I'd left something out. To prevent any further complications, I answered. On the other end, she asked, her voice tight with suppressed anger, "Sincere Clark, are you serious? It's been days. Haven't you had enough of this tantrum?" It took me a second to process her words. Did she really think this was all a joke? "Did you think I was faking it?" I asked, amused. She sounded incredulous. "You really want to break up with me? Don't you forget you chased me for years. How could you just let go like that?" So she did know. Then why did she humiliate me like that? After so long, even a heart of steel should have melted. Maybe if I spelled it out for her, she'd finally believe I was serious. I replied tonelessly, "Yes, I chased you for a long time. But when you asked me to be the MC at your wedding to Ethan Thorne, did you ever once think about my feelings? And tell me, would you keep loving someone who only ever saw you as a substitute?" For once, Victoria sounded flustered on the other end. I already explained, didn't I? The wedding was a gift I promised Ethan. You know he's sick. And the substitute thing. It's true that at first, Sincere, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You know me, I've never backed down for anyone. This time I truly know I was wrong. Please forgive me, I laughed coldly. Is your apology supposed to be some great honor? Just hearing your voice makes me sick now. Don't call me again, Victoria's sobs came through the phone. She choked out, "No, Sincere Clark, you can't do this. I apologize, you have to give me a chance." Towards the end she was becoming incoherent, but I didn't want to hear it, there was no point. I hung up and blocked her number. Chris was very satisfied with my decisiveness, remarking that my brain was finally working again. I gave a slight smile and didn't argue. He then asked what my plans were for the future. I hadn't really thought about it. I didn't want to go back to the bar for now. It wasn't because of anyone in particular, part of it was my voice, but mostly, I'd been singing for so many years that it just felt meaningless now. Chris said, "Why don't you come work with me?" It wasn't the first time he'd said it. He'd offered back when we graduated from college. But back then, I had no interest in an office job. Plus, I loved singing, so I ended up as a bar singer. Chris had brought it up a few times over the years, and I'd always turned him down. Now, however, it didn't seem like such a bad idea. Maybe it was time for a change of scenery. After all, Chris was doing incredibly well for himself. Many people called him Mr. Young. I wouldn't lose out by joining him. Without much thought, I replied, "All right, Mr. Young, let's get rich." He roared with laughter. "Don't worry, as long as I'm eating, you won't go hungry." Half a month after joining Chris's company, I received a call from an unknown number. I was about to hang up, but then I thought it might be a client, so I answered. The moment I did, I regretted it. Victoria's voice was low, laced with a hint of caution. "Sincere, are you still angry? I miss you. Is there something you need?" I asked, slightly surprised, then annoyed. "Can I borrow some money? Ethan's condition has gotten worse, and my family cut off my credit cards." Her voice trembled, more from humiliation than anything else. I raised an eyebrow in surprise. Victoria was incredibly naive. Ethan's illness was never that serious and wouldn't have cost much. In fact, he was probably perfectly fine by now. Chris had told me about it. He'd had too much time on his hands and actually looked into Ethan's situation, mainly because the Ethan Thorne who was supposedly on his deathbed, according to Victoria, somehow had the energy to send me a running diary of their relationship. I scoffed. "He's not sick. Victoria, are you genuinely stupid or just pretending to be?" There was a moment of silence, then she screamed hysterically. That's impossible. It was impossible for her not to have noticed anything. No matter how many people Ethan bribed, he couldn't have made it completely seamless. It was simply a case of one person willing to deceive and the other willing to be deceived. I couldn't be bothered with their drama. "Believe what you want," I said, exasperated. "Don't contact me again." I hung up, annoyed, just hoping she would stop haunting me. I had almost forgotten she existed, and here she was, showing up to disgust me again. It used to be so hard to get her on the phone, and now she was finding all sorts of ways to contact me. She was truly insane. Just as I was thinking this, my mom, Mrs. Clark, sent me a message, urging me to go on a blind date. I sighed. Ever since I left the bar, she had been bringing up marriage from time to time. Lately, she had arranged several dates for me. I had never told her what happened between Victoria and me, and according to her, my old job as a bar singer meant I wasn't qualified to consider settling down. Now that I had a stable job, it was time to start a family. We had argued about it so much that I finally agreed to meet one person just to appease her. It was almost time, and she was rushing me to get there. The date was at a coffee shop. I sighed, told Chris I was leaving, and headed out. The woman across from me was slightly older and seemed very poised and professional. Her demeanor was calm and relaxed. We had just finished simple introductions and hadn't had a chance to say much more when an enraged voice cut through the air. "What are you two doing?" I looked up and saw, to my disbelief, Victoria. I had no idea how she had found me. Her shout instantly drew the attention of everyone around us. I frowned, wondering what a psycho she was to make a scene like this in public. Victoria's eyes were practically murderous. She gritted her teeth. "Sincere, Clark, who is she? You were so determined to break up with me." It was because of her, wasn't it? I almost laughed out of sheer anger. Even now, she still didn't understand the real problem between us. She just blamed others, never reflecting on her own actions. But this wasn't the time or place to argue. She might not care about her dignity, but I cared about mine. It's none of your business. "Please leave," I said, suppressing my anger, my tone as if I were speaking to a stranger. Victoria's eyes turned red. "Leave? So you two can whisper sweet nothings to each other? Why should I leave? I'm not going anywhere, Sincere Clark. You have to explain this to me." The woman I was with was no fool. She could guess what was going on and, probably embarrassed, made an excuse and left. I had no time for this psycho. I left a few minutes later, with Victoria trailing right behind me. "Can you please stay away from me? I don't want to see you again," I snapped in frustration. She used to be the one telling me to get lost. I never thought I'd be the one saying those words to her one day. Love had made me endlessly tolerant of her. Without it, I truly didn't care about anything. The love of my life now seemed so insignificant. Perhaps seeing my detached demeanor with the other woman made Victoria realize something. She asked in a small voice, "Sincere, who was that woman? She's not your girlfriend, right?" "What's it to you?" I said, turning to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. Tears streamed down her face, which was filled with remorse. Sincere, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Ethan was faking it. I didn't know otherwise. I would never have gone through with that wedding. I swear I have nothing to do with him. Now let's get back together. Her voice grew quieter at the end, as if she knew how ridiculous she sounded. I was beyond speechless. How many times do I have to say it? We broke up. I'm not interested in your affairs. Let's just leave it at that. Consider this the last time we ever see each other. Victoria held on to me tightly, tears flowing non-stop as if she'd been dealt a massive blow. She begged, "No, please, no. Sincere, don't you love me anymore? I don't agree to this breakup. I don't agree. Please forgive me, okay? Just give me one more chance, please. I promise I'll go traveling with you. I'll play guitar for you. I'll marry you. Just don't go." When I first found out Victoria could play the guitar, I had asked her excitedly if she could accompany me for a song as a birthday gift. But she had snapped impatiently, "You want me to play guitar in a bar? Sincere Clark, are you out of your mind? It's bad enough that you embarrass yourself, but you want to drag me down with you? Besides, how old are you? What's there to celebrate? Just stop bothering me." When I wanted it most, she threw a bucket of cold water on me. Now that I no longer needed it, I was hearing the words I'd longed for, and it was nothing but comical. "No need. I don't love you anymore. There's no chance for us. And finally, I don't sing anymore," I replied, my face devoid of emotion. At my words, Victoria froze. She asked, hesitant and nervous, "You don't sing anymore? Why? You love singing more than anything. Is it because of me? Because I said your voice sounds like—" I cut her off. "It's just that whenever I think about singing, I think of you, and it makes me sick." Victoria's face turned pale. "Sincere, don't say that. I know you're still angry with me. I did so many things wrong. Every time I was at my lowest, you were the one by my side. I don't believe you've stopped loving me. Have you forgotten? You said you'd love me for a lifetime. I love you too, and I'll win you back." I felt helpless. It was like she couldn't understand plain language, just living in her own world. "Stop bothering me." Leaving her with those words, I pulled my arm free and walked away. Back at the office, my desk was piled high with files. I was still new at Chris's company and just getting the hang of things. Fortunately, my college degree wasn't for nothing, and the work wasn't too difficult. I took a deep breath, calmed myself, and dove into my work. About 3 hours later, I was finally done. It was quitting time, and Chris came out of his office asking if I wanted to grab dinner. "How was the blind date today?" "Don't even ask," I said, exasperated, and gave him the short version of what happened. Chris laughed gloatingly. "Looks like the roles have been reversed. It was practically my dark history." I waved a hand, not wanting to talk about it anymore, and changed the subject. We both agreed that Victoria would give up in a few days. People like her just aren't used to the person who's always orbiting them suddenly disappearing. There was no genuine feeling there. So I treated every word Victoria said as a joke and paid it no mind. But it seemed she was serious this time. For the next few days, she sent flowers and afternoon tea to the office every day. Colleagues teased me about which rich woman was pursuing me. I had no explanation, so I just threw the flowers in the trash and gave the tea to others. I sent her a message telling her to stop, but she ignored it, dead set on proving how much she loved me. I was incredibly annoyed but felt powerless. Then, one afternoon, Victoria called and said that if I just went to the bar and listened to what she had to say, she would never bother me again. Although I really didn't want to go, letting this continue would probably start to affect my work. It was just a trip to the bar. What could happen? With that thought, I agreed. When I arrived at the bar that evening, it was completely silent. I was confused at first, but then it clicked. Victoria must have booked the entire place. Suddenly, the stage lights came on. Victoria was dressed formally, sitting in the center with a guitar. I had a feeling I knew what she was about to do, and her words confirmed my suspicion. "Sincere Clark," she said, "you once told me you wanted to hear me play the guitar, to accompany you. I was wrong before. I've done a lot of thinking these past few days, and I realize that I love you. At first, it's true that your voice attracted me, but believe me, I fell in love with you a long time ago. I love you for who you are. I want to sing a song for you. After you hear it, I hope you'll give me another chance." Then the music started. She was singing the song I had used to confess my love to her. It was beautiful. But it also felt like a reminder of how foolish I had been back then. How foolish I had been all these years. So when the song ended, I felt nothing. Victoria was already in tears. I looked at her, my face impassive, and said coldly, "Is there anything else? If not, I'm leaving." If you truly have any feelings left for me, the best thing you can do is stay as far away from me as possible. Sincere Clark, do you really feel nothing at all? Why won't you forgive me? I've admitted I was wrong. You have to give me a chance. I promise I'll love you properly, Victoria screamed, breaking down behind me. I frowned, deeply annoyed. Just as I was about to speak, someone burst in, shouting, "Victoria, I finally found you." It was Ethan Thorne. He looked to be in good spirits. I guess he was finally done pretending to be sick. He looked at me with displeasure. "What are you doing here?" Victoria said nervously. "Ethan Thorne, didn't I tell you to stay away from me? Sincere, believe me, I have nothing to do with him anymore." Ethan looked hurt. "Victoria, don't be like this. I told you I faked being sick because I was afraid of losing you. Have you forgotten you said you loved me the most?" I was too speechless to say anything. I had no desire to get involved in their mess, so I quickly walked away. Victoria tried to follow, but Ethan stopped her. She kept calling my name, but I didn't look back and left as fast as I could. The next day, I got a call from Victoria asking if I could visit her in the hospital. It turned out she and Ethan had gotten into a fight at the bar the night before. Or rather, he had been on the receiving end of her attacks until he couldn't take it anymore, and they started brawling. I heard dozens of bottles of liquor were smashed. They both ended up in the hospital. Victoria had minor injuries, but Ethan would probably need a while to recover. Who would have thought that two people who were holding a wedding not long ago would now fight their way into a hospital? Naturally, I refused. I wouldn't go see her even if she were dying, let alone just injured. Coincidentally, the company was expanding its business, and Chris asked if I was willing to help develop a branch in another city. Without much thought, I agreed. Sitting on the plane, looking out at the blue sky and white clouds, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. From here on out, the path ahead was clear.